Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. In this video, we are looking at the Week 6 NFL First Look picks, so let's get started. As always, appreciate if you guys hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Only have a 10-game main slate on Sunday with a couple teams being on the bye week, so this will be nice having a little bit of a smaller slate. We can kind of narrow in on some players a little bit more. So let's get started. At the quarterback position, we have Mahomes, 2 and 3 Chiefs heading into this one in Washington. He's $8,300. We're probably going to get the win. I mean, if you had a bet on any team to get the win, definitely would say that the KC Chiefs will probably get the job done this week. I don't see them falling to 2 and 4, but Mahomes is very expensive, $8,300. Hopefully, he has Tyreek Hill out there who hurt his knee a little bit, but I think he should be good to go. Also, Travis Kelsey got a bit of a stinger, but he should be good to go as well. Kyler Murray is 79. That game did not turn into a shootout like it was projected to be. It only finished with a 27-point total. Kyler Murray didn't have to do much. He had 1 yard on the ground. That San Fran defense did kind of step up and made life difficult. Second week in a row that Murray has not thrown for over 300 yards. But this week is going up against Cleveland, which we all saw what just happened against the Chargers. Even with that, Cleveland still has a very good defense, but they can get blown up by good offenses, and this Cardinals offense is still very, very powerful. So I think I probably like Kyler Murray. Just even though he hasn't run a lot this year, there's always a chance that he can run into the end zone. So I would say he looks better than Mahomes. But this is the game that I want to talk about a lot. It's the Ravens and the Chargers game. It's going to be the one that you want to stack up on both sides. If you had to pick one game on this slate, it would be that one for me to just jam into your lineups. Lamar Jackson is $7,400. He literally shut up all the haters last night. People that said he couldn't throw, he threw for 442 yards, 37 completions, 86% completion percentage. And he came up clutch in the fourth, down by 16, rattling off 2 straight 8-point drives, and got it done in the overtime. They just had no shot once the Ravens got the ball to start OT. Kind of knew it was over. But Lamar Jackson only 74. He's starting to look really, really good, not only with the legs, but he's looked a lot better as a passer this year, especially as of late. And this one should be a high-scoring type of game. So definitely think that Lamar Jackson is going to be one of the most popular and, at least for me, one of my favorite quarterback options on the slate. Herbert is right there if you want to pivot, but I'm going to go with the quarterback that gives you more rushing upside and is at home. And I would expect the Ravens to not really light up. They didn't run the ball much in the second half, and if the Chargers, they also throw the ball a ton, I think this game will go back and forth, and you'll see a lot of passing, and you'll see both quarterbacks rack up the points. But I would lean to Lamar Jackson, only $100 more, but Herbert is fine if you wanted to go to a pivot there. Then you have Rodgers at 72. He's on the road here against Chicago, whose defense has looked good so far. I think he looks like an okay option, but personally, I like Lamar Jackson. I like Herbert more than Rodgers for Sunday. And then Dak is going up against New England. His price tag is up to 71. If I was playing anybody in the 7K range, it would be Jackson, Herbert, and Murray. I don't really love the 2 bottom quarterbacks, although they are super talented and they can go nuts any single week. But this week, I think I just like going up a little bit more, or going down to some of the value quarterbacks here. The 6K range isn't particularly something that I'm looking at too heavily. Like, you do have Matthew Stafford if you wanted to stack the Rams against the Giants. But the Giants, depending on some of their injuries, that game probably won't be super competitive if there's no Daniel Jones out there and you already know Saquon's not going to play. At the bottom, you have Sam Darnold, who came back down to earth against Philly. He's at home against Minnesota. I think both quarterbacks in this one can go a little bit overlooked. They would be 2 options I'm looking at in the 6K range, Kirk Cousins and Darnold. Seems like every so often Kirk Cousins has some big performances. He's been quiet the last couple, only thrown for 1 touchdown in each one. But I think that at the $6,200 price tag with not that many people on him, he could make for a nice tournament option. Definitely not like a cash quarterback that you play. But for tournaments, he looks okay because you compare him with maybe Dalvin Cook is back, and then you compare him with Jefferson or Thielen. And the 5K range, it would be Taylor Heinicke. He's only $5,800. He's a guy that this game is also another one that you might want to look to get both sides of. He's impressed me with the rushing, back-to-back 40-plus yards on the ground. And last week, he didn't even throw for any touchdowns. He had 2 picks, but he still put up almost 12 fantasy points just because he had 40 yards on the ground for 5 carries. So this is a game that should be a shootout. They should be down in this one. and they're going to have to throw a lot to keep up with KC and put up some points on the board. So Heineke, you compare him with Terry McLaurin, you compare him with McLaurin and Ricky Seals-Jones. We get one of the running backs in there to go full-on stack if you wanted to. And then the bottom here, you have Carson Wentz, who finally looks somewhat decent against the Ravens after looked like he was fine with his ankles, didn't look to bother him at all. And he was throwing the ball downfield, which is good to see. But this matchup, 54 against Houston. That defense is not very solid, so I would think you could look to Wentz. This was like the 1 week. If you're looking for a 5K quarterback, I would look to Wentz. You can play him with Michael Pittman. They're both very affordable, or you can even pair him with Jonathan Taylor and Pittman as a very cheap stack with some good upside against Houston at home. After the way they lost last night, I think the Colts will bounce back with a nice, big, commanding win against Houston. Davis Mills did impress a lot of people. Start that game, he looked amazing out there. Finished with a very solid game, threw for over 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. But he's on the road in this one. I would rather go to Carson Wentz if I had to go with anybody in the 5K range. And then I'm not looking at Fields. I'm not looking at Goff at the bottom here. But I think this is so far I've been trying to look for the value quarterbacks. I think this week I might spend a little bit extra. It's because I just love Lamar Jackson in that game. Running backs here, McCaffrey was doubtful heading into the Philly game. I think he should play. There's a chance that he'll be able to play on Sunday. We don't know if there's going to be any sort of restrictions on him. But the price tag is nice. Only $8,800. He's a guy that was almost 10K in week 2 against the Saints. So we're getting a good discount in a very good matchup if he is healthy. So keep an eye on that. One guy that is healthy and is racking up touchdowns left and right is Austin Eckler. He now has, count on 5 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. And he's gotten over 20 touches. Last Sunday, he got 22. The week before, he got 18. So he's looking at close to 20-plus touches every single week. In this game against Baltimore, I like playing running backs. I mean, for my running backs, I like to get guys that are going to be out there on the field on all 3 downs and have an opportunity to catch passes, which is definitely what Austin Eckler gives you every single week. So with some of these guys questionable at the top end, I think Eckler right now is my favorite out of Cook, McCaffrey, and him. Cook, we'll have to wait and see, even if he does play, if he's, limited in practice, there's a chance that they kind of split some time. And they do have the bye week the following week, so they might just hold him out this Sunday, and then he'll be hopefully fully healthy in 2 weeks. And then in the bottom K here, the bottom 7K range, you have Chubb and Ezekiel Elliott. Chubb was awesome, of course, didn't stick with him, but he put up 27. A lot of running backs went nuts on Sunday. Chubb was definitely one of them. Now that his price tag is up to 72, getting somewhat close to some pass catching running backs like Eckler, Cook if he plays, Aaron Jones. I don't think I want to pay 72 for Nick Chubb. Elliott's been a beast so far ever since that game where Tony Pollard played better than him. I think that was against the Eagles. Elliott's just looked like his old self the last couple of weeks. Still needs to work on some of the hairstyle, but 71 against the Patriots, it's fine. The Cowboys offense is rolling. They're going to put up they're probably going to put up 25 plus every single week. And then at the bottom here in the 6K range, you have a few guys. The 6K range is absolutely loaded at running back. You can look at 4 or 5 guys that I like to get into my lineup. Jonathan Taylor, 66. Like to see him get involved in the passing game, even though he only caught 4 targets, or only caught 3 catches. He did have only just 4 targets, but shows you that big-time speed with that 76-yarder on a 3rd and 15. He got 18 touches, which is good to see. Looking at a pretty good price tag for him. Hopefully he continues to get close to 20 touches every single week. He's been utilized a lot in the red zone all season and is finally starting to result in touchdowns the last couple of weeks. This matchup is solid against Houston. They can any team can run the football against them. So I don't mind getting to Jonathan Taylor. At the bottom, Gibson, I would probably go to Taylor over Gibson or go down here just because that game doesn't seem like they're going to need Gibson to run the ball a lot. I think they're going to have to throw a lot in that game. So for that reason, I'd rather go to Joe Mixon. He was questionable heading into that game, ended up suiting up, just got 11 touches. But normally you're looking at a much bigger workload for Mixon. If he's healthy and practices this week, then a good price tag, great matchup against Detroit. I think he can be one of the better running backs options on the slate. If Cook is out, then you want to plug in Madison every single time he's out. He's been awesome 2 times this year, and the price tag hasn't really budged. But I'm going Swift right now. He's $6,300. Couple of reasons why Swift I like him this week. First of all, his price tag is still very nice. He still gets like split some carries with Jamal Williams, but he's a clear passing down back out there in Detroit. He's getting involvement in the red zone. He's getting some red zone carries, getting some red zone receptions, and the matchup is solid against Cincinnati for a running back that's this cheap. That gives you a good upside, and they're at home. They also did lose Quintez Cephas, who broke his collarbone. He's going to miss some more time, so I think that's just more snaps and a little bit more usage for Swift. They could run a little bit more of two running back and have Jamal Williams and Swift out there together without Cephas because they're still missing Tyrell Williams. So right now, Tuesday first look, I like Swift in there. There's a lot of guys. Other guys in that range are Henderson, who's only $6,000. He gets a date with the Giants, who are super banged up with injury, not only a wide receiver, but now a quarterback, now a running back. This defense giving up a huge amount of rushing yards and production to running backs. Henderson did give some people a scare on that showdown when he left the game with an arm injury, but he came back and still finished with a very solid performance. He's been pretty consistent all year, finishing with like close to 16, 17 fantasy points, getting 15 plus touches every single week. So against the Giants, he's another guy in the 6K range that I really like. In the 5K range, you have some other options here because Edwards-Hilaire's on IR, David Montgomery's still on IR. Well, this only second week on IR. But with some of the injuries here, you're going to look to potentially you can look to Booker making a big role from the Giants. Again, he stepped in for Barkley, put up 21. He got 2 touchdowns, which is not going to happen every single week, especially against a pretty solid defense here in the Rams. But he's going to get 20 touches, so if you think he can amount to some production here. They quickly did raise his price tag a little bit. The matchup isn't the best, but if they're missing some of their receivers again, then I think you can play Booker at that price tag. And then still have pretty good price tags on both Williams. Both of the Williams, Darrell Williams is 49. He's going to have to play a big role. They do have Jerick McKinnon there to get some third down work, but 49 for him without Edwards-Helaire is just a really nice price tag that I would like to take advantage of. So it's probably a slate where I'll have three running backs, 2 at this spot and then 1 in the flex just because it's so strong this week. So right now, Swift, Williams, they seem to be the top of the list just based on the price tags. And then Damian Williams, he played well, but they also did get some production from Herbert. So there's a chance he's not going to get every single carry. Moving on to wide receiver, Devontae Adams broke the slate. He's 9K now. It's fine against Chicago. If you wanted to go to a cheaper route, you have Tyreek Hill is 85 against Washington. I think if he's healthy, he's probably going to have a huge game. The Chiefs are probably going to put some of their frustration out on this Washington secondary. So I don't mind going with any of the top 2 options. They're both great plays. But Cooper Kupp is getting a little bit cheaper. He's $7,900 for a guy that's still getting 10 plus targets every single week. He has not gone under 10. We saw last week Robert Woods go nuts, and they probably want to keep Robert Woods happy because he wasn't happy after week 4. They made him happy with 12 for 150. Expect Woods to continue to play in a big role in that offense. So at 61, I like Woods against the Giants. But that game also, they might not have to throw much in the fourth quarter depending on some of the injuries. So right now, I'm just taking a wait-and-see approach depending on the Giants news. But a couple of wide receivers I just want to jam in here. Well, if you're playing Lamar Jackson, I think you might want to pair him with somebody. And for me, that guy is going to be a very affordable Marquise Brown, who continues to put up points every single week. He's up to 5 touchdowns on the season. He has not fallen under 19 just one time this year, and that was against Detroit, where he dropped 3 touchdowns. So he would have had 5 straight weeks of 20 or close to 20 straight 20 plus fantasy points, 19 plus. Matchup against the Chargers here. Expected to be a high-scoring game, so I'm going to get both sides of it. Plug in Marquise Brown at 59. Then you can run it back here with Keenan Allen, who's only 64. He still hasn't had huge games yet after the first couple of weeks, but 9 targets once again. He's locked into heavy targets, going to get the catches. On cash games, he seems to be a solid option every single week, especially this week where I think people might go to Mike Williams, but his price tag is just a little bit high for me to justify playing Mike Williams over Keenan Allen, who's only 64 heading into this year. Allen was always regarded as the number one receiver, but right now it's Williams. He's taken over as the number one receiver, but I don't think it's as big of a difference as the price tag is. It's $1,700 difference between Williams and Allen. Now, Williams has been utilized a lot in the red zone, but Allen's touchdowns are going to come just with all those targets that he's getting. It's impossible that he's not going to get more. He's not going to get more touchdowns as the season goes on. So I'm going to get to a lot of players in that game. So those are two right off the bat. And then other guys that we can look to at wide receiver besides, getting to Marquise Brown and Keenan Allen here. In the 5 to 6K range, you have a good price tag on Adam Thielen. He's disappeared the last couple of weeks, but the price tag has just gone way down on him. So at 58, I think he's going to get back on track really soon. They're on the road here, but if there's no Dalvin Cook, feels like Thielen should continue to... she's still getting a good amount of targets. Last week, he only got 3 for some reason. But I have confidence that he will bounce back very quickly. So good price tag on Adam Thielen. If Galladay is probably not going to play, if they're not going to have Shepard or Slayton again, then Tony at 56 looks like a guy we can go to. Pittman at 55, if you wanted to pair him with Wentz or just play him as a one-off, he's cheap enough to do that. You have Jacoby Myers, who had a pretty quiet week, but still going to be one of the most popular receivers for Mac Jones to throw to on the team. They occasionally will let him throw the football for some extra fantasy points. So at 55, still looking for his first touchdown. There's a lot of good value receivers here that if you don't want to break the bank this week, you don't have to. In the 4K range, you have McCole Hardman at only 42 if there happens to be without Hill. But even if they do have Hill, I think he looks fine as a cheap option with some upside. Got 12 targets last game, which is great to see. And then in the 3K range, you're basically just punting with some options here. If Slayton is in and without Galladay and Shepard, depending on some of the news out in New York, then he becomes a viable option here. In the bottom 3K range here, probably will get Bateman back. He's probably going to be on a snap count, but Watkins missed the second half with a hamstring. And if he's out, then you're going to see Duvernay become the second wide receiver. He's only 34. You could see this like a pure tournament option. We did recommend him on the showdown. Didn't do great, but Prochet is still min-priced if you wanted to play him if there is no Watkins for the whole game. But basically, I'm happy with going Marquise Brown, maybe going Mark Andrews here, and then calling it a day from the Ravens side. And then over at tight end here, well, basically at the top end, didn't really talk about the top end too much, but the 6K range, I like Robert Woods a lot at that price tag. If you wanted to go up to Jamar Chase, you can. But if I was going to play Chase, I'd probably just find a little bit extra to get up to Terry McLaurin at only $7,100. I would play Cooper Kupp over Jefferson, over Hopkins, even over DJ Moore, most likely. And at the top end, between the top two, it's always tough not to go Adams, especially with Hill maybe dealing with a little bit of an injury. Over at tight end here, Travis Kelce, 7K. You have Kelce, Waller, Andrews, so you get back to having a full complement of the top end tight ends. To target, Andrews going to be popular. I don't really fault anybody for playing Andrews this week after his huge performance, going up against the Chargers, who have given up huge production at tight ends. So he looks like a great option at 52, not even that expensive. Hunter Henry, if you wanted to play anybody on the Patriots, he's done a lot better than Jonnu Smith this year, especially recently, getting a lot more targets, 8 and 5. He's converted touchdowns the last 2 weeks. So they should be able to put up some points against Dallas, and they're going to have to throw a lot in that game because I expect them to be trailing. And then at the bottom, you have like Jared Cook at 32. Conklin, Mo Ali Cox has a touchdown option. But probably in the 3K range, you look to Ricky Seals-Jones. Got 8 targets in place of Logan Thomas, and he's going to continue to have to play a big role for that team. And then at defense this week, all the way at the bottom, you have Washington football team. The Chiefs, even though I do expect them to win, I think you could look to the football team just as a defense, just because the Chiefs have been turning the ball over at an unreal clip this year. And we saw last week, all it took was a tip pick turn into a touchdown for the Bills defense. Something like that could happen, even though I think the Chiefs will put up probably high 20s, low 30s against that defense. The bottom isn't that appealing because I don't want to play the Lions. I don't want to play the Texans. I don't want to play the Ravens. Don't want to play the Giants. Don't want to play the Chargers. I don't really play anybody except for maybe the Cardinals against Cleveland. And then I don't want to play the Chiefs. Obviously, that defense has been so bad all year, especially recently, just getting carved up. The 3K range might be a way to go this week at defense. In terms of just a safe option, you'd have like the Cowboys at $3,200 against Mac Jones at offense. Isn't the best at moving downfield, and that Cowboys defense with Diggs back there, they're going to get probably an interception at least once every single game. He's probably going to have one every single game, well, the way his season has started. And then at the top end, if you can basically want to break the bank at defense, the Rams are $800 more than anybody else. If there's no Daniel Jones, they look fine. But if Daniel Jones plays, then I'm not going to pay that much. I'd rather go to the Colts against Houston and hope that Davis Mills looks like what he did 2 weeks ago instead of last Sunday. So that's about it for the DraftKings side. If I had to plug in one more guy here at the flex, I said I'll probably go with 3 running backs this week between Henderson or Jonathan Taylor. Right now, if I plug in Henderson, only 6,000. Like that fact that even if this game does turn to a blowout, Henderson should still get some work running out the clock in the second half. So that's about it for the DraftKings side. Let's jump over to FanDuel. All right, so FanDuel here, Mahomes, most expensive quarterback. No real surprise there. Lamar Jackson's the third most expensive guy. Prescott is up there at fourth. So you have a bunch of running quarterbacks here. Murray and Jackson priced within $200. Stafford is more expensive than Rodgers. Probably don't agree with that. And then the bottom 7K range, you have Heineke at 73. I like him more on DraftKings. Probably wouldn't play like Mills or Carr, especially with what's going on. I don't want to play anybody in that game, really. That doesn't look that appealing. Maybe Wentz at 67 as a pure punt option. But I'm looking to get to Lamar Jackson, especially on FanDuel where it's a lot easier to pay up for multiple positions. Running back, right now you're looking at Eckler as the only healthy guy above here at 83. Zeke should be good to go, but I'm not sure about Cook or McCaffrey at this point. Chubb's at a very expensive price tag, 81. I'll probably go down to some pass-catching running backs like Hunt's been finding his way into the end zone so often recently. Taylor at 75. And then you have Henderson here. Swift is only 71. So probably like to get to Swift on both sites. At the bottom, Damian Williams is 65. You're probably going to get good price tags on Booker's only 59. FanDuel's not going to really adjust that price tag. Darrell Williams is only 52, so he's also going to be a guy that you want to jam in on FanDuel. FanDuel's really not even that much of a question at that price tag. Over at wide receiver, I still would like to pair Lamar Jackson with Hollywood Brown, and he's only 7K. So he is more expensive than Woods, than Cooper, which is not something we can say on DraftKings, but I'm fine with it. He's been getting a ton of downfield targets. Hopefully he can catch the football, which he has done a good job of, except for that game against the Lions. And then Keenan Allen is only 71 as well. He's pretty affordable compared to Mike Williams at 8K, so a little bit of a difference there. But if I'm playing Keenan Allen on DraftKings, I'm probably just going to hope that Allen has a big game on both sides and play him on FanDuel as well. So not really breaking the bank for either one of these wide receivers, and they both give you huge upside. And then the 6K range, we're looking at Tony if there's no Galladay and no Shepard, potentially no Slayton this Sunday. You have Cooks at 65, Cortland Sutton at 66. He would be a guy that you look to on the Denver side if you wanted to play anybody in that game. And at the bottom, you have like Myers and Pittman. Both had good price tags at $5,800 respectively. Hardman is 55, so I'll probably just find a little bit of extra money and get up to like Pittman at 58. Not even that expensive. So I think Colts will put up some points this week. Hopefully Pittman finds his way into the end zone like he did last week or last game. Over at tight end, we have great price tag on Mark Andrews, only 63. He's going to be popular, but that price tag is really nice. Hunter Henry is 56. He's another guy that I like if you're not going to break the bank for Kelsey. And then Ricky Seals-Jones right at 5K value with some upside. And then last but not least, at defense, FanDuel's easier to pay up for a defense. So if you could, pay up for the Rams. If not, you can look to the Colts, save $300. Bottom 4K range here at defense, you have the Cowboys at $4,100 against the Patriots. I think they are a fine option. And then the 3K range, basically looking at nothing that crazy here. The Panthers at 4K, I think, look fine as well. And then the cheapest defense is the football team on both sides. I think they're okay. Maybe if there's no Hill or no Kelsey, then they look better. But I'll probably on FanDuel at least look to pay up for one of the better defenses options that we have. So that's about it for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Here's to hoping that the Chargers-Ravens game ends up being a shootout, and we get like 80 combined points from that game. But I'll see you all next week, or probably a couple days when I post some NBA videos. So thanks for watching. Best of luck, and I'll see you all next time.